Alright, jumping into exit slip 4.7 here. Our goal is to be able to identify some number sentences and things that illustrate properties of numbers and operations. So we're really focusing on these properties. We've had one similar to this before. We're trying to find the pattern and describe it and be able to get an equation that generalizes it. What's the rule? What's going on here in general? And guys, when I look at this one and every one, I'm actually going to look like the right side first. 12 times the quantity 21 plus 96. If I take 12 and distribute it through, 12 times 21, that's what they did over here, plus 12 times 96. So all they did was distribute the 12 through the parentheses, and it turns into taking 12 times the 21 plus 12 times the 96. And they do this on everyone. Here they're distributing the 2/9 through the parentheses, taking it times everything individually. Okay, and the same thing down here. So guys, for description, I'm just going to write distributive property. Okay, not going to need to explain that. We really want to know the name of what's going on. They're distributing something through those parentheses and doing it in parts, okay, instead of following the order of operations and our PEMDAS rules. Okay, so to me, that's the best answer. It tells me you understand that property and what it means. So to come up with the equation that generalizes it, how can this work for all numbers and not just these certain specific numbers they have up here? Remember, we can use algebraic, we'll use some variables. So let's just use A, B, and C. So I'm going to start with, if I've got A and I want to multiply it through the parentheses, let's call in the parentheses B plus C. All right, because that's what we're doing here. We're adding things in the parentheses. Instead of calling it 21 plus 96, let's just call it B plus C. And to demonstrate that I get the distributive property, I now need to distribute the A through the parentheses. Again, I like to draw these little lines here to remind me. I'm going to take the A times the B. Some of us like to write that symbol of A times B plus A times C. And that would be the equation that shows what's going on. I'm just distributing it through. These two things are equal in value. Some people may write this as just AB plus AC. Okay, remember, you don't have to have time signs. This means A times B. Okay, so we want to get used to seeing things that way as well. All right, so there's an example of that distributive property shown and how to generalize it with variables so I can plug any numbers in there and know this is true. I can distribute through those parentheses and the answers will come up equal on both sides. All right, so make sure you're copying these down. We will pause the video if we need to. Down below on the bottom part, for each question, again, we're talking about identifying these properties a little bit, the associative, commutative, or distributive, and just making sure we understand these and what they mean. Okay, so in this case, I have 5 plus 6 equals 6 plus 5. I just flipped them. I know both sides of this, when I do this, guys, both equal 11. I know it's true. What property says that? That's the commutative property. Then we talk about your parents maybe commuting to Des Moines and flipping and commuting back home. Okay, commutative, or just flipping those two. We know we can do that, and that always works in addition. So this is true. Number 3, we've got 8 plus 4 in parentheses plus 3, and that equals 8 plus 4 plus 3 in parentheses. All right, so when I'm looking through here, I'm seeing they're kind of regrouping these. Notice it's still 8 plus 4 plus 3, 8 plus 4 plus 3. They just moved, instead of doing 8 plus 4 first, I'm going to do 4 plus 3 first, because we can add in any order. That's the associative property. So I know this is true. And that's the associative property. And again, I like to double check to make sure they're equal here, and I can show my work here. And I'm going to do a little PEMDAS going up, but 8 plus 4 is 12. So 12 plus 3 is 15. And then here I got to do parentheses first. So 4 plus 3 is 7. So it ends up 8 plus that 7. Notice they both get to 15 because the associative property always works for addition. I can regroup and do it in any order. I still get the same thing. Doesn't matter what order I add them in. All right, down below in 4, we've got 6 times 8 minus 5 times 8. And if I look right here, it looks kind of funny here, but this is 6 minus 5. The quantity of that times 8. And usually I have the 8 in front, but guys, this actually is distributive property. This is true because I have to take 8 times the 6. Even though the 8's behind, I'm still taking everything in here times 8. So the 6 times the 8, that's that, minus the 5 times the 8. Okay, so I still distributed that 8 through the parentheses, even though it's on the back side. And again, to prove this is true, this is 48 if I do the work, minus 40. So I know this thing equals 8. And if I look at this side here, if I did PEMDAS work, 6 minus 5 is 1. So what's 1 times 8? Both sides equal 8. So again, plug in and actually solve those things. But you wouldn't need to if you understand those properties. I always do it just to double check that I'm doing things correctly. Okay, so that is true, and that's the distributive property. And then number 5, and I noticed down there on the last one, we've got 9 plus 3 times 4 equals 9 plus 4 times 3. Notice in this one, guys, we've got adding and multiplying. You might be thinking distribute, but I'm not taking 4 times 9. Okay, that's not what it's doing in the 4 times the 3, so we're not distributing. What they did was just flip the 4 and the 3. And guys, we can't regroup if there's adding and multiplying. If it was all adding, we could do that. If it was all multiplying, we could flip and redo those things in a different order. So this thing is false, because no property works there. Again, I want to prove this here. If I follow PEMDAS, this is 12 times 4. This side equals 48. And if I do here, 9 plus 4 is 13. 13 times 3 is 39. These do not equal like they say they do, because they didn't follow the properties. There's no property here when you have adding and multiplying. You can't just regroup and do them in order and flip things around. That's only if it's all multiplying or all adding. So this one, there'd be no property. Okay, there's just no property that applies there, is why that doesn't work. All right, so make sure you get these copied down and know the difference between commutative, associative, and distributive properties.